It was an ordinary Thursday evening when the seed of suspicion first took root. The kind of evening that slips past without distinction. Dinner dishes clinking in the sink, the hum of cartoons from the living room TV, the scent of lavender wafting from the kids' freshly bathed hair. Everything was, on the surface, perfect. Until I saw the necklace. Our babysitter, Haley, was leaning over the kitchen island, coaxing my daughter into finishing the last few spoonfuls of mashed potatoes. The pendant around her neck caught the kitchen light, a delicate silver teardrop, resting just above the hollow of her collarbone. I hadn't noticed it before. "Pretty necklace," I remarked casually, drying my hands on a dish towel. She smiled without looking up. "Thanks. Vanessa gave it to me." I paused. "Vanessa?" "Yeah. She said she wanted to thank me for helping out last minute last week." I almost cried. I've never had anyone give me something this nice. Haley grinned, unaware that my insides had turned cold. Vanessa was my wife. We'd been married 10 years. She didn't mention giving Haley any jewelry. And Vanessa didn't do sentimental gestures like that, not even with me. Not anymore. I nodded, made a sound that I hoped passed for acknowledgement, and turned away before my face could betray what I felt. That night, I watched Vanessa closely as we got ready for bed. She stood at the bathroom sink in her robe, brushing her teeth with absent-minded motions. I leaned against the doorway, arms folded. "You get Haley anything recently?" I asked. To her credit, she didn't miss a beat. "No, why?" "She said you gave her that necklace she was wearing tonight." Vanessa frowned, rinsing her mouth. "Did she?" "No, I didn't." "Maybe she's confused." I studied her expression. Calm. No twitch of guilt. No defensiveness. Just that effortless nonchalance she'd perfected over the years. I let it drop. But I didn't forget. It was like watching the surface of a pond, still and undisturbed, while knowing something moved beneath. I began noticing other things after that. Quiet things. Slivers of evidence, so thin they were almost deniable. Like the half-finished glass of wine I'd find on the patio some mornings, even though I hadn't been out there. Or the way Vanessa's phone was always face down, always silent. She'd laugh at my jokes, kiss my cheek, and go about her day like the perfect wife. But something had shifted. The air between us felt rehearsed. Hollow. I work in risk management. 20 years of contingency planning makes you see the world in worst-case scenarios. You start to recognize patterns. You prepare for them. You don't confront a threat without first understanding it fully. So I didn't ask her again about the necklace. Instead, I watched. Haley came by 3 times a week to watch the kids when we were both at work or when Vanessa had her night out with friends. Haley was in college, smart, reliable, and always polite. The kids adored her. She was cheerful, maybe a little too cheerful sometimes, especially around Vanessa. They shared inside jokes now. Vanessa would linger longer after Haley arrived, chatting about shows, makeup, music. It didn't bother me at first, until I realized she never smiled like that with me anymore. I began making mental notes. On Tuesday, Haley showed up with a fresh manicure. Same dusty rose color Vanessa had worn 2 days before. Thursday, I caught them whispering in the hallway, and when I came around the corner, they went quiet. Haley looked away. Vanessa laughed too loudly, like nothing was amiss. It was small, inconclusive, but my gut kept whispering, something's wrong. Then came the receipt. I was searching the junk drawer for a screwdriver when I found it, folded in quarters, wedged between expired coupons and a dried-up pen. A receipt from Brighton Jewelry, dated 3 weeks ago. One item, sterling silver teardrop necklace. $149.95. Vanessa's credit card. I stared at it for a long time, feeling heat rise to my face. It wasn't that she'd bought the necklace. It was that she had lied about it. Calmly, effortlessly. That's when I began to wonder if the necklace was just the beginning. The next day, I called in sick. I waited until Vanessa left for her spin class. Then I searched. Her drawers, her closet, her bathroom vanity. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, only that I'd know it when I found it. And I did. Inside her nightstand drawer, behind a stack of romance novels, was a small, velvet bag. Inside, a second necklace, identical to the one Haley wore. Why 2? I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture. My hands were trembling. I put everything back exactly as I found it and sat on the edge of the bed, stunned. 2 necklaces. One gifted, one kept. Why? That night, Vanessa acted normal, asked about work, laughed at a meme on her phone, fell asleep halfway through a movie. But I couldn't focus. My mind kept circling back. If she'd lied about the gift, what else had she lied about? The surveillance began that weekend. I bought a nanny cam disguised as a smoke detector and installed it in the living room while Vanessa took the kids to the park. Another, hidden inside a digital photo frame, went on the bookshelf facing the entryway. I told myself it was temporary. I just needed clarity. But clarity doesn't always come clean. The footage from the first 2 days was nothing. Haley arriving, playing with the kids, texting occasionally. Nothing strange. Nothing intimate. But on the third day, after Vanessa came home early from work, things shifted. I watched them on my laptop late at night, heart pounding in my chest. Vanessa poured 2 glasses of wine. Haley accepted it. They stood close, talking, laughing. Then Vanessa reached out and brushed Haley's hair from her face. A moment. A pause too long to be innocent. Then the camera went dark. Vanessa had unplugged the frame. I sat frozen in the dark, the screen still and silent. It wasn't a glitch. She had found it, and now she knew someone was watching. The next morning, the air in the house was thick. Vanessa didn't mention anything unusual. She kissed me goodbye like always. Haley arrived on time. Everyone pretended life was normal. But something had shifted. There was tension now, a game behind the smiles. Later that night, I checked Vanessa's phone while she showered. The passcode hadn't changed. I scanned her texts, her emails, her call logs. Nothing. But the photos folder held a surprise. One picture, taken just 4 days ago, of the teardrop necklace resting on a bare chest. Not Vanessa's. Haley's. She had freckles across her collarbones. A tiny star tattoo near her left shoulder. The caption read, "Thinking of you." My world tilted. My legs gave out, and I sank to the floor, phone still in hand. The necklace wasn't a gift to Haley. It was a gift from her. From Haley. To Vanessa. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside Vanessa, her breathing slow and even, her face turned away from me on the pillow. The pale light from the hallway cast a faint glow across the room, revealing only soft outlines. The dresser, the curtains, the necklace still hanging from her nightstand hook. The same necklace I had seen pressed against Haley's bare skin. I couldn't stop thinking about that photo. The casual intimacy of it. The way it was framed, close, confident, sensual. Vanessa had saved it. Hidden it in a private album labeled only with a single emoji, locked. I felt nauseous. I'd expected deception. A lie. A secret affair, maybe with a coworker, a neighbor, someone with a beard and a mortgage. But Haley? Our babysitter? She was 22. Still in school. She wore her hair in messy buns and carried bags with cartoon characters on them. She called me Mr. Alden until I insisted on Eli. I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping my phone like it might explode in my hands. I didn't wake Vanessa. I didn't ask questions. I didn't even breathe too loudly. I just stared at the photo, as if it could explain how we got here. When morning came, everything continued as if nothing had changed. Vanessa yawned her way through coffee. The kids argued over cereal. The world, somehow, remained upright while mine tilted and cracked. I watched her. Every movement felt like a performance now. The way she smiled at me. The way she leaned to kiss my cheek. The way she adjusted the necklace around her neck before heading out the door. That necklace, the symbol of whatever intimacy she had with Haley, now felt like a mockery. A quiet declaration worn in plain sight. And I said nothing. Not yet. Because I wasn't done watching. Over the next few days, I installed 2 more cameras. One in the hallway mirror frame, one in the guest bedroom. Haley used the guest room sometimes when we were out late or if the kids were particularly fussy. I told her she was welcome to rest there. I didn't know I was inviting something else in. Vanessa's behavior didn't change much, which made it worse. If she had been jittery, cautious, overly sweet, maybe I could have written it off as guilt. But she was composed, charming, perhaps even more attentive. That confidence made my stomach churn. And Haley, she was just as bubbly as ever. On Thursday, I pretended to work late. Vanessa was home first. I watched from my phone, live streaming the hallway camera. Haley arrived at 5:32, carrying her oversized tote, hair in a ponytail, her usual bounce in every step. She knocked, even though she had a key. Vanessa opened the door. They hugged. It was brief. Almost nothing. But I saw it. The way Vanessa lingered half a second too long, her hands sliding down Haley's arms before pulling back. Haley smiled nervously. Vanessa whispered something, and they both laughed. Then they walked out of frame. I flipped to the living room feed. Nothing. To the hallway again. Still nothing. For 10 minutes, the feed was quiet. Then I saw movement in the guest bedroom. They entered. Vanessa first, Haley behind her. Haley dropped her bag, looked toward the door like she expected someone to walk in at any moment. Vanessa closed it behind them. There was no audio, only images. Just silent, unfolding betrayal. They stood close, whispering again. Then Vanessa touched her, lightly, fingers tracing along Haley's jaw. I shut the feed. I couldn't watch more. I sat at my office desk, lightheaded, sweat forming at the base of my neck. I kept trying to breathe through it, trying to tell myself this didn't mean what I thought it did. Maybe it was comfort. Maybe they were just talking. But the image of Vanessa's fingers on that young girl's face wouldn't leave me. I stayed at the office until past midnight. When I finally got home, Vanessa was asleep on the couch, a blanket thrown haphazardly over her legs, an empty wine glass on the floor. I stood there for a long time, just watching her sleep. I didn't wake her. By Saturday, I had made a plan. Confrontation wouldn't give me peace. Not yet. I needed to know how far it had gone, how deeply I'd been deceived. I started going back through the footage, night after night, week after week. It had been going on for over a month. Always when I was working late or out with the kids. Always subtle, never overt. The hallway glances, the whispered conversations. The second necklace that Vanessa kept hidden, worn only when she was alone with Haley. There was footage from 2 weeks ago, on a stormy evening, when Vanessa had told me she was going to her book club. I'd taken the kids to my sister's for the night. Vanessa had come home around 10:30, but Haley had arrived at 10:45 and didn't leave until 1:15 a.m. She carried no overnight bag. No excuse. I watched them in the living room, huddled close, Vanessa with a glass of wine in one hand, Haley curled under the throw blanket, head on her shoulder. It was so quiet, so intimate, so painfully, excruciatingly familiar. They looked in love. I didn't know which hurt more, the betrayal, or the fact that she looked so happy. On Sunday afternoon, Vanessa was in the garden pulling weeds, her back to the house. I slipped into the guest room and opened Haley's tote bag. She'd left it behind again, trusting, careless. Inside, lip balm, hand sanitizer, earbuds, gum, and a folded letter. I hesitated before opening it. It was handwritten, elegant loops and curls in black ink. Van, I don't know what to do anymore. I know we said this would stay between us, that it was just for now, but I'm not good at pretending. I hate lying to Eli. He's so kind to me, so grateful. And I hate seeing the way he looks at you, like you're his whole world. But I know that look, because it's the same way I look at you. I love you, and I don't think I can keep doing this in secret. I'm not asking you to leave him, but I am asking you to be honest. With him, with yourself, with me. No signature, just a postscript. I'll wear the necklace until you tell me to stop. I sat on the edge of our bed with the letter in my hand, feeling like I was holding a piece of glass, sharp and beautiful, cutting me the longer I stared. That night, Vanessa didn't mention anything. She curled into me in bed like always, arm draped across my chest, the scent of her hair sweet and familiar. And yet, everything about her felt foreign. I knew I had a choice. I could confront her. I could shout, accuse, wave the letter in her face. I could demand answers, throw her out, end it all. Or I could wait and watch. I chose the latter, because sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, calculated, earned. The next day, I went to the jeweler. The same store from the receipt. Can I help you? The clerk asked, smiling. I'm looking for a necklace, I said. A gift for someone special. She tilted her head. Do you know what kind of design you're looking for? I nodded slowly. Yes, I said. Exactly like the one you sold to Vanessa Alden 3 weeks ago. Her smile faltered. Yes, I remember that sale. You want the same one? No, I replied, reaching into my pocket and pulling out the folded photo of Haley's necklace on her bare chest. I want you to help me make a copy. An exact copy, but with one difference. What kind of difference? I smiled. A message, engraved on the back. She hesitated. What should it say? I looked her straight in the eye and told her. The necklace was ready by Friday. It was identical in shape, weight, and finish, a perfect twin to the one Vanessa wore every day. Sterling silver, teardrop-shaped, delicate chain. The kind of peace that whispered elegance without trying too hard. I held it in my palm, the cool metal pressing into my skin like a secret. A weapon dressed as sentiment. On the back, just beneath the curve of the pendant, the engraving read, "I know." 2 words. That's all. But they held the weight of betrayal, surveillance, deceit. I didn't need to spell it out. Vanessa would understand the moment she saw it. The moment she realized her beautiful illusion was now mine to manipulate. That weekend, I played the part of the doting husband. I made pancakes with heart-shaped strawberries for the kids. I volunteered to do the grocery run. I laughed when Vanessa teased me for buying the wrong brand of juice. And when Haley arrived Sunday morning to watch the kids while we attended a work brunch, I greeted her with a warm, easy smile. She smiled back, and I noticed her hand instinctively touch the necklace she always wore. Her necklace. The original. I watched her carefully as she tucked her tote into the hall closet, brushing past Vanessa, who handed her the backup house key like it was a sacred ritual. I could see it in their eyes, the flash of something unsaid, the silent current that passed between them. But they didn't know I had already dived beneath the surface. That evening, while Vanessa bathed the kids upstairs, I opened her jewelry drawer and made the switch. The original necklace, the one from Haley, I slipped into a plastic evidence bag and sealed it shut. The replica, with its message hidden just out of sight, I placed gently on the hook where she always kept it, right beside her wedding band. My hands didn't tremble. Not anymore. Monday morning, Vanessa wore it. She didn't notice. Not at first. She came downstairs in a rush, coffee in one hand, bag in the other, calling out reminders to the kids about homework and lunchboxes. I stood at the sink, rinsing plates, heart beating hard as I watched her reach up and touch the necklace. It rested perfectly in its usual place, just above the hollow of her throat. She didn't glance at the back. Not yet. I wondered when she would. Later that night, after the kids were asleep and the house was wrapped in its usual quiet, I sat at my desk reviewing security footage. I watched Vanessa in the bathroom mirror, brushing her teeth, wiping away makeup. She pulled her hair into a loose bun, then reached for the necklace chain and unhooked it. She paused, stared, slowly turned it over. Her entire body stilled. I leaned forward, my breath catching. She read the engraving and froze. In the reflection, her face was pale. She touched the words with one finger, as if hoping they'd disappear under her skin. As if 2 simple syllables could burn. She didn't cry, didn't gasp. She just stood there for what felt like forever. Then, mechanically, she put the necklace back on. The next morning, everything was too quiet. Vanessa didn't make coffee. She didn't pack lunches. She sat at the table in her robe, staring blankly at the garden while the kids ran in circles around her. When I offered her a cup of coffee, she looked up as if I'd just returned from the dead. "Thanks," she said softly, taking it with both hands. The necklace still hung around her neck. She hadn't taken it off. And that told me everything I needed to know. She didn't know what to do next. Good. Let her sit in that limbo a little longer. That afternoon, Haley texted me. "Hey, Mr. Alden. Just wondering if we still need me Friday evening for date night? I have a study group I could reschedule, but wanted to check with you guys first." Smiley face. It was the first time she had texted me directly in months. I stared at the message for a full minute before replying. "Yes, we'll need you. 6 p.m. sharp." I left out the smiley. Vanessa didn't mention the necklace. Not that day or the next. She wore it every day, like it was business as usual, but I saw her fingers drift to it more often. A nervous tick. A silent prayer. On Thursday night, while she showered, I took the original necklace, Haley's gift, out of its plastic sleeve and tucked it into a small velvet box. I slid the box into a drawer in the guest room nightstand, right beneath the camera lens. I didn't know which one of them would find it first, but I knew one of them would. Friday arrived with the weight of anticipation clinging to everything. I wore a suit, not for the fake date night, but for the performance. Vanessa had chosen a blue dress, understated but elegant, the kind she used to wear when she still wanted to impress me. I complimented her, told her she looked radiant. She smiled. Thin, strained, haunted. At exactly 6 p.m., Haley arrived. "Hey, you too," she chirped, stepping inside. "Hope you have a fun night." I thanked her, handed her the emergency contacts list, and reminded her about the kids' bedtime. Vanessa didn't say much, just hugged her like always, too long, too tight. I watched the exchange, smiled at both of them, then opened the front door. Vanessa followed me out, heels clicking across the wood floor like a countdown. We didn't go far, just down the street, where I parked the car and killed the engine. I checked the camera feed on my phone. At 6:27 p.m., Haley emerged from the hallway. At 6:28 p.m., she entered the guest room. At 6:29 p.m., she opened the drawer and found the box. She sat on the bed, opened it, stared. Her hand flew to her chest. Then she stood abruptly and stormed toward the kitchen. Vanessa, seated beside me in the car, flinched. I didn't say a word. At 6:34 p.m., Vanessa's phone buzzed. She didn't move. It buzzed again. She reached for it slowly, like it might bite her. I watched her expression morph as she read the screen. Her cheeks flushed. Her mouth tightened. She found it. She whispered, voice hollow. I know, I said. She turned to me. Her eyes were wide now, desperate. Eli, but I held up my hand. I know, Vanessa. Everything. The letters. The meetings. The wine. The necklace. Her necklace. She blinked rapidly, trying to speak, but I didn't give her the chance. You lied to me. You brought her into our home, our children's lives. You wore that necklace in our bed. You looked me in the eye and let me believe everything was fine. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked like she might be sick. And now, I continued, you're going to sit here, in this car, and you're going to watch what happens next. I tilted the phone toward her, live feed on the living room camera. Haley was pacing, fuming, and she was holding the necklace. The necklace, not the copy, the original. Vanessa turned pale. She'll tell the kids, she whispered. No, I said. She won't. Why? I looked at her. Cold. Calm. Because she still thinks you love her. The silence that followed was suffocating. Vanessa leaned back in the passenger seat, the weight of her actions finally pressing down on her chest. The car was dark now, the sky outside fading into twilight. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Haley. Vanessa opened it. Read it. Then gasped. I leaned over and read it too. It said, I think Eli knows. He left the necklace for me. You told me he was clueless. Why would you lie about that too? Vanessa looked at me like a ghost. I don't know what to do, she said. I turned the key in the ignition. We go home, I said flatly. And you tell her. Everything. What if I don't? I looked her straight in the eye. Then I will. The front door creaked open like it had secrets to share. Vanessa stepped inside first, her breath shallow and quick. The house was quiet in that deceptive way it gets just before a storm. I followed her, locking the door behind us like it would somehow hold the truth inside. Haley was on the couch, arms crossed, eyes red. The necklace, her necklace, sat on the coffee table, coiled neatly beside the velvet box like a discarded snake. My replica still hung around Vanessa's neck, a cruel mirror of the original. No one spoke at first. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard creaked. One of the kids, maybe turning in their sleep. Haley finally broke the stillness. You said he didn't know. Her voice wasn't angry, just tired, like she'd aged years in a single hour. Vanessa didn't answer. Haley stood up, her chin trembling. I told you I couldn't keep lying. I asked you to talk to him. You said you would. I was going to, Vanessa said, voice barely audible. I didn't know how. You didn't know how? Haley scoffed. You managed to sneak me into your marriage, into this house, into your children's lives. But you didn't know how to be honest? I stood quietly, just off to the side, letting the words land where they may. Vanessa stepped forward, but Haley backed away. I loved you, Haley said, voice shaking. And maybe I still do. But I don't think you ever saw me the way I saw you. You wanted a secret, a fantasy, something young and quiet and easy to hide. But I'm not that person anymore. The silence that followed was heavier than any yelling could have been. Finally, I moved closer. Not toward Haley, not toward Vanessa. Just enough to place myself between them. Not out of protection, but separation. This ends tonight, I said. No more secrets. No more pretending. Vanessa looked like she might collapse. Eli, please, we can fix this. We can. No, I said, my voice firm. You don't get to frame this as a fixable crack. This wasn't a lapse in judgment. This was a sustained, deliberate betrayal. I turned to Haley. And you're not innocent either. Her face tightened. You knew she was married. You knew we had children. And still, you came into our home like it was yours. I did love her, Haley said quietly. I don't doubt that. But love isn't an excuse. I picked up the original necklace from the table, the one she had worn like a badge of stolen devotion, and placed it back in the box. I want both of you out of this house. Tonight. Vanessa blinked. Out. Yes, I said. Take your things. Go to a hotel. Stay with a friend. I don't care. But this space, our children's space, will not be tainted further. Haley took a step forward. I'm not staying. I wasn't asking. That silenced her. I turned back to Vanessa. You'll see the kids. We'll figure out how to tell them. But for now, they deserve peace. And I need clarity. Her eyes were rimmed with tears. So this is it. No, I said. This is the start. They both left within the hour. Haley was first. She didn't argue. Just packed up her tote, her charger, her jacket from the hallway hook. I didn't walk her out. Vanessa, on the other hand, lingered. She stood at the foot of the stairs, suitcase in hand, staring up toward the bedrooms. I don't even know how to say goodbye, she whispered. You'll get your chance, I replied. But not like this. When the door closed behind her, the quiet that followed was absolute. Not peaceful. Not yet. Just silent. I walked through each room like I was inspecting the damage after a flood. Everything looked the same. Toys on the rug, dishes in the sink, framed photos of a life now extinct. But it felt different. There was a hollowness now. A haunted familiarity. I ended up in the guest room, standing beside the nightstand where I'd hidden the necklace. The camera still sat on the bookshelf, quietly recording. I pulled the SD card, dropped it into my pocket. That footage would never see the light of day. I wasn't here to humiliate anyone. I just needed the truth, and now I had it. The next morning, I told the kids that Mom had gone on a short trip to visit a friend. They didn't question it, too distracted by pancakes and cartoons. But in the spaces between their laughter, I felt the weight of what was coming. Vanessa texted, multiple times. I'm sorry. Please let me talk to you. We can go to counseling. This doesn't have to be the end. The kids need us both. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I focused on the house. On the kids. On scrubbing her presence from the rooms she had stained. I changed the sheets. Washed every glass. Tossed out the wine she liked. Then, I found myself doing something I hadn't expected. I pulled out the necklace, the engraved one, the copy I'd planted, and stared at it. There was something poetic about it. A lie carved into beauty. I walked to the backyard, started the fire pit, and dropped it in. It took longer to melt than I thought. That night, I received a call from Haley. I nearly ignored it. But curiosity got the better of me. Hello. She was quiet on the other end. Then, I'm sorry. Her voice was thin, fragile. I'm not calling to beg or explain. I just wanted to say, I didn't go into this to hurt anyone. I really believed her. I thought she'd tell you. I thought. I don't know what I thought. I didn't answer. And I understand if you hate me. But I want you to know, I never tried to replace you. I never tried to be part of your family. I just fell in love with someone I shouldn't have. She let you believe things that weren't true, I said finally. And you let her lie to me. I know. There was a pause. You said those words would haunt her, she continued. But they haunt me too. She hung up before I could respond. A week passed. The kids adjusted faster than I did. Vanessa stayed gone. I saw her once, at a neutral site we'd agreed upon for a brief visit with the kids. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just dimmed. Like the light she'd stolen from others had finally stopped shining back. We didn't talk much. Just small smiles for the kids, awkward exchanges about school and meals. That night, she sent me one more message. You deserved better than this. I wish I'd told you sooner. I wish I'd seen you sooner. I'll never stop regretting it. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I deleted the message. 3 days later, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a note on simple white paper. For what it's worth, you were always kind to me. I never forgot that. I'm leaving town. Starting fresh. I hope one day you'll be able to do the same. Folded inside the paper was the original necklace. The real one. Haley's. I held it in my hand for a moment, then placed it gently in my desk drawer. Not out of sentimentality. Not out of forgiveness. Just to remind myself that nothing, not even betrayal, can be erased. Only remembered. But the peace didn't last. 2 weeks after Vanessa left, something changed. I came home from work late, expecting the house to be dark and still. But the hallway light was on, and my office door, the one I always locked, stood open. My stomach tightened. I stepped inside and froze. On my desk sat a manila envelope. No name, no markings. I opened it slowly. Inside, photographs. Dozens of them. Of Haley. Of Vanessa. Of both of them. Together. But these weren't from my cameras. These were taken from outside windows. From across the street. From parked cars. Dated. Time-stamped. Some of them from weeks before I ever suspected anything. At the bottom of the stack was a note. Typed. Short. You weren't the only one watching. For a moment, I thought I might pass out. I stood in my office, clutching the envelope, staring at the photographs like they were fragments from someone else's nightmare. Not mine. Not this life. Not my family, my home. But they were. Each picture was time-stamped with eerie precision. Haley entering our house through the side gate. Vanessa leaning out the bedroom window, glancing nervously into the street. Blurred glimpses of intimate gestures. A shadowy figure, sometimes just a reflection in the glass, capturing it all from a distance. Whoever had taken these had been watching long before I ever suspected a thing. The thought made my skin crawl. I flipped the photographs over, hoping for something, an address, initials, anything. Nothing. Just the typewritten message. You weren't the only one watching. A warning? A threat? A shared confession? For the first time since this all began, I felt afraid. Not angry. Afraid. I didn't tell Vanessa. Not yet. She and I had begun tentative discussions about custody and visitation. Cold, clinical conversations via email that never acknowledged the firestorm still smoldering between us. I wanted it that way. Clean. Controlled. Like bandaging a wound too deep to stitch. I didn't tell Haley either. Her number was blocked. Her email deleted. She had vanished, just as promised. No word since the necklace arrived in the mail. But someone hadn't vanished. Someone was still watching. I had to know who. The following day, I drove to the police station. I didn't bring the photos, not yet. I didn't want to open that box without knowing what it contained. Instead, I asked for advice on home surveillance, security systems, legal options for restraining orders. The officer I spoke with was polite but distant, as if he sensed I wasn't telling him everything. He was right. When I returned home, I installed new locks on every door and window. I swapped the nanny cams for a full security system with motion alerts, external cameras, and a private cloud backup. I even had a specialist sweep the house for bugs, just in case. He found one, hidden in the base of a lamp in the guest room. I stared at it, small, matte black, no larger than a fingernail. What kind of signal? I asked the specialist. Encrypted, but old. Likely a third-party recorder, not live streaming. Whoever planted this probably retrieved the files manually. How long has it been there? He shrugged. Hard to say. Could be months. Could be longer. I paid him in cash and watched him drive off. Then I smashed the bug under my boot. Who had been inside my home? I began retracing every name, every face. Neighbors. Friends. Colleagues. The contractor who repaired our roof last fall. The dog walker we'd hired for a few weeks before canceling. Even the gardener who trimmed the hedges once a month. Always silent. Always in sunglasses. Was it paranoia? Maybe. But the feeling wouldn't leave. Whoever watched us knew us. And not just in passing. Intimately. Strategically. It wasn't just surveillance. It was obsession. The next piece arrived a week later. A package. No return address. Brown paper wrapping. Inside, a flash drive. And a note. You only saw the surface. Here's the rest. I hesitated before plugging it in. My office door locked. Curtains drawn. Security feed visible in the corner of my monitor. I inserted the drive and opened the folder. Video files. Over 100 of them. Each named by date and time. I clicked the earliest. It was footage of our bedroom, long before I ever installed cameras. Grainy, low light, but unmistakable. Vanessa, sleeping, alone. Then another, the guest room. Haley, reading, listening to music. And another, the hallway. Vanessa and Haley whispering, brushing hands, giggling like teenagers. The file spanned nearly 6 months. 6 months of someone else's eyes on my family. Whoever had sent this hadn't just been watching. They had everything. Every kiss. Every lie. Every stolen moment. Buried deep in the folder was one final file. No label. No date. Just a blank icon. I opened it. It was a video, but not of Vanessa. Not of Haley. Of me. In my office. Sorting mail. Typing at my desk. Sipping coffee. I watched myself on the screen, unaware, mundane. And then, without warning, a figure stepped into frame, just for a second, reflected in the glass of the bookshelf behind me. Male, short hair, wearing a baseball cap, gone in a blink. My blood ran cold. This wasn't footage from my cameras. This was taken from inside my house. From before I ever suspected a thing. I backed away from the desk. My hands were shaking. Someone had been inside. More than once. Filming. Recording. Observing not just my wife's betrayal, but me. I opened the front door and stood on the porch, breathing in the cool night air, scanning every shadow. Every parked car. Every second-story window across the street. Nothing. Just stillness. But I felt them. Watching. I turned to the only person I could trust. Michelle. My assistant. The one who had held my hand when the walls caved in. The one who had sat silently in my office when I found out about the affair. The only one who knew every step I had taken since. She met me at a small cafe, away from downtown, away from cameras. I told her everything. Showed her the envelope. The photos. The bug. The videos. She didn't flinch. I always thought she was too smooth, she said. Vanessa. What do you mean? Michelle took a sip of her tea. The way she talked to people. Always just enough attention. Just enough charm. She knew how to keep people hooked. But she never really saw anyone. Not unless they were useful. I raised an eyebrow. Useful. She leaned closer. You're not the only one who was blind, Eli. Someone watched her for months. Maybe out of curiosity. Maybe out of anger. Maybe because they loved her, too. I stared at her. You think it was Haley? Michelle shook her head slowly. No. Haley was naive. Foolish, maybe. But this? This was meticulous. Cold. Calculated. Then who? Her eyes narrowed. The same person who knew where your cameras were. Who knew when you'd be out. Who knew what necklace to copy. Who knew exactly what would break you. I frowned. Michelle, what are you saying? She didn't speak for a moment. Then, I'm saying someone didn't just want to watch your marriage fall apart. She met my gaze. They wanted to help it happen. That night, I reviewed every video again. But this time, I wasn't looking at Vanessa. Or Haley. I was looking at the edges. The corners. The reflections. The moments where someone else appeared, just for a flash. Just enough. And slowly, the pattern emerged. The same shirt. The same bracelet. The same posture. And finally, a clear reflection in a hallway mirror. Michelle. I didn't confront her. Not directly. I sent her one message. I've seen the footage. All of it. I know what you did. No reply. Her desk was empty the next morning. She never returned. Police couldn't track her. She vanished like smoke. And just like that, the story ended where I least expected it. Not with betrayal, not with infidelity, but with manipulation. Michelle had been watching long before I ever started filming. She had orchestrated it like a puppet master, feeding me just enough, guiding me just enough, playing confidant while pulling threads behind the curtain. Why? Maybe revenge. Maybe obsession. Maybe just for the thrill of it. In the end, I kept the house. Vanessa and I filed for divorce quietly, jointly. We told the kids as gently as we could. She moved into a condo nearby. We shared custody. Haley left town. Michelle disappeared. Sometimes I still get the feeling someone's watching. A flicker on the security feed. A motion alert with no movement. But I never find anything. Maybe that's the price of seeing too much. You never stop looking. The necklace sits in a drawer now. The original. The duplicate. And one more. A new one. Empty. Waiting. Just in case someone else decides to start watching.